Turkey's foreign minister has stepped into one of the most contentious debates surrounding Gaza's fragile diplomatic process, offering a message that reverberated across the Doha Forum and far beyond the walls of the venue. Speaking with measured firmness, Hakan Fidan made clear that the international discourse around the disarmament of Hamas is out of sequence, out of context, and out of touch with the realities on the ground.
That cannot be the first thing to do.
That cannot be the first thing to do in the process. The disarming. We need to put things in their proper order. We have to be realistic.
We have to be realistic.
His statement, delivered to a room filled with diplomats, analysts, humanitarian officials, and global observers, was both a reflection of Turkey's evolving role in Middle Eastern diplomacy and a direct challenge to one of the most difficult demands raised in the Gaza negotiations. The question posed to Fidan was simple on the surface, but deeply complex beneath it. Should the disarmament of Hamas be considered the first priority as mediators push toward implementing the second stage of a ceasefire and reconstruction plan? His answer was unambiguous. That cannot be the first thing to do in the process, he said. I mean the disarming. We need to put things in their proper order. We have to be realistic. In a diplomatic landscape where many states avoid such direct statements, this was a strikingly clear refusal to endorse a common Western talking point that Gaza's future depends first and foremost on demilitarizing the territory. Fidan's intervention comes at a time when the region is cautiously balancing between a tenuous quiet and the constant threat of renewed escalation. The first phase of the ceasefire arrangement brought limited relief and a pause in major operations, but the second phase focused on political arrangements, humanitarian guarantees, and the future governance of Gaza has exposed deep disagreements among the mediators involved. Turkey has framed itself as a country advocating for a structured, realistic approach rather than what it sees as externally imposed conditions that ignore the political and humanitarian realities inside Gaza. Fidan's remarks at the Doha Forum aligned with this posture. What he emphasized without stating it explicitly is that disarmament cannot be approached as a standalone requirement. In Turkey's view, any discussion about removing weapons from Hamas must be linked to the broader question of what guarantees Palestinians will receive in return. Security, governance rights, reconstruction commitments, and political legitimacy in a process that has historically sidelined Palestinian voices. The foreign minister's comments suggest that Ankara believes pushing for disarmament at the outset risks derailing the negotiations entirely. This perspective is rooted in a long-standing Turkish argument that sustainable peace in Gaza cannot emerge from coercive frameworks, but from inclusive political processes. Fidan's statement reflects years of Ankara's involvement in Palestinian affairs, particularly its consistent emphasis on dialogue rather than force. It also subtly challenges the idea promoted by Israel, supported by Washington, and echoed in parts of Europe that demilitarization is the prerequisite for any political or reconstruction roadmap. Turkey is effectively saying that such a sequence is neither feasible nor credible without addressing deeper systemic conditions facing Palestinians. His remarks are especially significant because they confront a dilemma that mediators have been quietly wrestling with. Hamas has already said it will not agree to disarm, and there is no external force willing or able to impose disarmament inside Gaza without triggering another cycle of conflict. Fidan's statement, therefore, injects a dose of realism into the diplomatic conversation. It reflects what many mediators privately acknowledge but rarely admit openly, that pressuring Hamas to give up its weapons before receiving any political guarantees is not a workable strategy. The Doha Forum, where these remarks were made, has increasingly become a platform for unconventional but influential diplomatic conversations. This year's gathering brought together officials from across the Middle East, Europe, Asia, and the United States, creating an atmosphere where difficult questions were asked and sensitive responses were delivered with notable candor. Fidan's message stood out because it challenged the sequencing of priorities that has dominated Gaza policy discussions. Although he spoke in measured tones, the implications of his words are far-reaching. Turkey is signaling that mediators need to rethink the architecture of the ceasefire stages. The first stage, though limited, succeeded because it was built around realistic confidence-building steps, pauses in fighting, humanitarian access, and prisoner exchanges. The second stage, however, risks collapsing under the weight of maximalist expectations. If the first demand on Hamas is to surrender its weapons, the process may stall entirely. Fidan emphasized that we need to put things in their proper order, effectively calling for a redrawn roadmap that aligns with political realities rather than aspirational objectives. His comments also come at a moment when Turkey is positioning itself as a central diplomatic actor in the region's evolving geopolitical landscape. Ankara has relations sometimes tense, sometimes cooperative with Israel, Qatar, Egypt, the Gulf states, Iran, and the broader Western alliance. This gives it a complex but unique vantage point in regional negotiations. Turkey's message, delivered publicly in Doha, was crafted not only for mediators but also for international audiences observing Gaza from afar, many of whom may not fully understand the delicate balance required in such processes. Fidan's statement reflects another underlying theme, a critique of solutions that prioritize military logic over political and humanitarian realities. Turkey has long argued that Gaza's crisis cannot be solved through disarmament alone and that rebuilding and political integration must take precedence. The foreign minister's words made clear that jumping immediately to disarmament risks, ignoring what Palestinians themselves consider necessary steps, lifting restrictions, ensuring reconstruction aid flows, establishing security guarantees, and enabling political representation. Behind Fidan's comments lies a broader regional frustration. Many Middle Eastern states believe that international policy toward Gaza has been dominated by external powers that do not face the day-to-day consequences of instability in the region. For Turkey, the insistence on beginning with disarmament reflects a tendency to design peace processes in Western capitals rather than through consensus among regional actors. By stating that prioritizing disarmament is unrealistic, Turkey is pushing back against what it views as a short-sighted approach. At the same time, Fidan's message implicitly acknowledges the international concerns surrounding Hamas's armed capacity. He does not dismiss the importance of disarmament altogether. Instead, he frames it as a long-term objective that must be addressed only after political arrangements, humanitarian stabilization, and governance mechanisms are established. Turkey argues that if Palestinians do not feel secure, represented, and supported, any attempt to remove weapons will be seen as an attempt to weaken their political leverage and impose an externally designed order on Gaza. The foreign minister's comments also resonate with a wider debate about who should govern Gaza after the ceasefire process advances. Several states have proposed multinational forces, temporary Arab-led administrations, or strengthened Palestinian Authority control. Turkey's approach suggests that imposing governance structures before addressing Palestinian political expectations or humanitarian needs is likely to be ineffective. Ankara believes that political inclusivity, not enforced disarmament, must guide the process. Observers at the Doha Forum noted the significance of Fidan's tone. His statement was not a rhetorical provocation, but a grounded expression of regional political logic. It reflected Turkey's growing confidence in shaping diplomatic debates and its willingness to state publicly what many countries discuss privately. By framing disarmament as something that cannot lead the process, Turkey is urging the international community to avoid repeating past mistakes in peace negotiations where unrealistic opening demands have led to quick breakdowns. The foreign minister also used the platform to reinforce Turkey's broader message about the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. While the focus of the exchange was on political sequencing, the backdrop to his remarks was a population facing immense suffering, limited aid access, and slow progress on reconstruction. Turkey argues that rebuilding homes, hospitals, schools, and basic infrastructure must be an urgent priority before any political discussions about disarmament can occur. In Ankara's view, stability emerges from restoring normal life, not from security-first conditionality. His message reflects a principle often highlighted in Turkish diplomacy: political transitions cannot occur in a vacuum. If a population is enduring humanitarian collapse, political expectations will be shaped by desperation rather than trust. Asking such a population to immediately accept disarmament is, in Turkey's framing, an invitation for instability. The debate sparked by Fidan's remarks is likely to continue shaping Gaza discussions in the coming weeks. Several mediators, including Qatar and Egypt, share frustrations over expectations that cannot be delivered at this stage of the process. The United States remains attached to the disarmament first principle, seeing it as a necessary condition for long-term stability. European governments are divided, with some aligning with Washington's view and others expressing concerns about feasibility. Turkey's intervention now forces all of these actors to re-examine the sequencing and political viability of their proposals. As the Gaza process moves forward, the question raised by Turkey is a pivotal one. Should peace be built from the ground up or imposed from the top down? Fidan's argument strongly favors the former. He insists that the foundations of peace must come before the final architecture. If the process reverses this order, the structure may collapse before it is even built. Turkey's position challenges mediators to ask whether their goals reflect reality or ambition. In Doha, Hakan Fidan did more than respond to a question. He reframed the narrative. His statement brought clarity to a debate clouded by political demands and diplomatic pressures. Whether mediators adjust their approach remains to be seen, but Turkey has placed its marker firmly on the table. Peace in Gaza will not begin with disarmament, and insisting otherwise risks undermining the fragile progress already made. Through a combination of realism and regional insight, Fidan reminded the world that diplomacy succeeds only when its sequencing matches the lived realities of the people it seeks to protect.